What's up? What's going on, guys? Another day of 100 Days of Hustle. You know how I do it. Yeah. So I'm kind of tired right now. Like Tuesdays and Thursdays are my long days. So I was like, I don't think I'm going to record a video today. I think I'm just going to do a live stream. And I was like, what can I do a live stream about? And I was like, oh, I know. Everybody keeps asking for this. I don't know. It seems like an overly complex subject, but it's not that crazy. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be setting up essentially how you pull data from an API. You persist that data using some type of persistent service, realm, core data, you know, user defaults, SQLite, whatever, And then from there, what you're going to do is you're going to present that data. It's not too crazy complicated, but a lot of people ask for this, and I haven't gotten around to making a video. It actually does get quite more complex than this, which is why I'm actually going to end up doing a course on it. But we can go over the basics today. That should be fine. Get you guys going. All right, so let's go ahead and switch back over. Oh, by the way, who's in here? Which one of y'all is in here? Where are you guys watching from? Let me know. All right, so let's go ahead and start off with a brand new project. So there's no secrets to be had. And maybe Xcode doesn't want... Oh, it's on this screen. Silly Xcode. That's one thing that macOS definitely needs to improve. When I hit a app on a specific screen, I want it to open on that screen. What are we gonna call this? Persisted JSON. Sure. Oh, hold on. What's going on, Vancouver? Code Dart? Ooh, I see you, Code Dart. Did you guys know that I'm actually technically Canadian? Technically Canadian. Just so you know. Let's see. Code research, KL learning. That's where I learn you, baby. Where is it? Oh, we're in the code research. That's why. KL learning. That's where I learn you. All right. Let's go ahead. All right. So what we're actually going to be doing is we're going to be doing this using POP, protocol oriented programming, just to kind of make it a little bit more straightforward, and you guys can kind of adapt this to whatever persistence layer that you want to use. Like I said, if you wanted to adapt it to realm, we're going to be doing it in core data today, but if you wanted to adapt it to realm, things like that. So what we need to do is we need to define, we're going to use protocols to define essentially what we're going to do. So first of all, we're going to have a networking service. So networking service, networkable networking service is networking service. I don't know. Networking service. I don't really like that name. Networkable. Okay. So we have something that goes out and gets the data. And then we have something that's also going to save the data. Networker. I don't know, guys. Call it whatever you want. You already know. Networker. Okay, hold on. So networker is going to be any, no, do we need to do all that? No, we don't need to do that. All right. So what does a networker do? Well, a networker has to be able to go get some data. So, it needs to be able to make a request to some type of endpoint, or and it needs to request some type of URL path. We'll just call it URL path because that makes more sense to me when I see a string in there. So it needs to be able to get that, and then also it needs to have a completion handler. Completion escaping, and then we'll just say that it's going to return some type of result. And this could be, let's see, data. This needs to be data, and then just like an NS error or something. Now, forgive me if I mess up a few times. It's been like, I think over a year since I've done this. And I actually didn't implement it using protocol-oriented programming last time I did it. So it's just, this is a better way. So what we're saying right here is that a networker needs to be able to make a request by passing in some type of URL path. And then it needs to be able to return some type of data or an error as a result. That's pretty much all that needs to do. And then this could be, well, let's see. How would I say this? It would be a little bit harder to adopt this to something like Firebase because you're using SDKs to go out to the data and get it back, but I don't know. I'm not going to think about all that. Hopefully you guys will be able to get what I'm trying to convey to you. That's why I'm going to do like a whole entire course just to really think this through. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to be able to persist data, right? Persister. These are terrible protocol names, but like I care. Okay. Persister, like so, and then a persister needs to be able to save data. It needs to also be able to request data, right? All right. Yeah, right. Yeah, so we'll just say func, and we'll save. No, what do we want to do? Yeah, we want to save it. Oh, okay. So we want to be able to, a persister needs to be able to save. Man, I'm so tired. I can't freaking think. And then it also needs to be able to request updated data. You know what? I don't think I'm going to do this using protocol-oriented programming. From Mexico? What's going on, Mexico? Yeah, I don't know. You know what? Let's save the protocols because I know what I'm trying to do, but it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work when I'm like this. So let's just pretend that nothing's happened. We're in a brand new project, right? So let's go ahead and set up a couple of services. This is what we're gonna do. We're just gonna go straight. Please also make a video on Realm also. Just apply this to Realm until I make a course on it, okay? The course is gonna go over how to implement it the way that I was trying to do it. And then it's going to be essentially you just interchange out whatever persistence layer that you want to do. That's the right way to do it. You set it up so that you can use whatever persistence layer that you want to use. You can use Core Data, SQLite, whatever. But I can't do that right now. I can't think straight. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna just do, let's just do our networking service first. Networking service. And then what we'll do is we're gonna do a class called networking service. Networking service like that. And then we'll say private init. We're just gonna make a singleton. It's shared equals networking service like this. And then what we're gonna do, what's going on, Mr. Guru? Good to see you. Then we're gonna say request, and this is still gonna take an endpoint or a URL path, and then it's still gonna have a completion at escaping, and then what we want to do, completion at escaping, and then what you want to do is this result, right? It's going to return some data, and then an NS error like that. So we're just getting our data back like that. Okie dokie. All right, so now what we need to do is we're just going to say let URL is equal to URL. Do that string in it. We're going to pass in that URL path. Force unwrap it because we're daredevils. And then let session is equal to URL session dot shared. Let task is equal to session dot task with the URL. Alrighty, and then what we're going to do, data. We don't need the response. We'll keep the error just because you guys are probably going to be using this like it's the Bible or something. All right. Alrighty, so what we want to do is we want to unwrap the error. So we'll unwrap the error first, right? If let unwrapped error is equal to the error, then completion dot failure, and then we'll just pass the unwrapped error as a NS error like so. Else if let unwrapped data is equal to data, then what we need to do is we need to say completion dot success, and then we'll say unwrapped data. Right? Good stuff. So now what we need to do is we need to make sure we call resume on our task, because our task needs to go out and get a job, so we call resume. Dang, Thomas, you can't be doing this every time, man. Like, I super appreciate it, but dang, man, you can't just be waking up every morning and donating. What about you? I mean, unless you got it like that, like. I definitely don't got it like that, but thank you so much, Thomas. I appreciate it. Appreciate it so much. So much. I got to do something special for you, man. Hit me up if you ever need anything. Here, hit me up here. Actually, yeah. Hit me up here, Thomas, and send me your email. Send me your email, and then I'm going to invite you to the Slack group. I'm about to start doing some major stuff with the Slack group. All right. So let's see. This is the request. This is pretty much all we need. So let's just go ahead and test this out real quick. I want to make sure that everything's working. So let networking service, actually .shared. We could just do this. We don't even have to explicitly state it. And what we can do is we can say let URL path is equal to https:// kiloloco.com/API/users, like that. And then we just say networking dot request URL path, and then we'll say result, and then I'm just going to print the result itself. And that should actually print out in a result object. So let's see. Okay, you're being kind of weird right now. There we go. All right. Oh, goodness. Let's see if it works. Yep, got it. Worked. So it's still data. That's why it's coming in like that. All right, so let's go ahead and create a persistent service. So to create a persistent service, you just got to rip all of this out. Actually, there's a couple of things I probably should have done. I can't completely remember. Yeah. Not sure. I'm pretty sure there's something that I was supposed to do, but it's okay. Yeah, it's okay. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a persistent service. Persistence service. Ugh, hope that's the right way to spell persistence. Class persistence service. And let's see, do we need to do anything special? Don't think so. We need to import that core data like so. We're going to paste this in here like that. Been on to TikTok too much. All right, so we're just going to call save. I also like to have access to the context, don't I? Usually. Believe I do. Persistence container.view context. I'm going to guess that I used to like to get this. Oh, well, let's first make it a singleton, because you know I like to use singletons. All right, so then we'll do a private init like that. Static let shared is equal to persistent service like that. And then I think I usually have the context accessible. Not sure about the persistence container, but we could leave that. That's fine. And then we want the what do we want? Persistence. Oh, context. Context is of type ns context context ns manage object context. There we go. And we're just gonna go ahead and return the persistence container dot view context like that. All right, so let's see. Now we got our persistence service. Let's go back over to the app delegate, rip it right on out. Hey, Kilo, thanks for doing this one. No problem. I think it's probably like #1 requested, actually. Save context. So what we would want to do, if you wanted to keep this in the application will terminate, which isn't that safe actually, because what's happening here is you're actually I'm not going to go into that. I don't want to do that. Okay. So we have a persistent service, right? We have a networking service. These are the two services that we need. Now we need an actual object that we're going to be saving, right? So still catching up to X. One question: how much data can core data handle? You know, I'm not the right person to ask for that. I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't use core data. I don't. I honestly would prefer Realm. Realm is a lot easier. I mean, core data is not hard. It really isn't. I think well, let me say this right. Core data can be very difficult as you get into bigger applications, because there's a lot of different use cases, and then as you start scaling things into core data and you have more complex relationships, that's when it gets complex. That's when core data gets hard. Getting up and running with core data, not that hard. But Realm actually makes it even easier. And Realm, like even the hard thing, even as it grows, Realm still stays pretty easy to manage. So that's just that's how I feel about it. All right, a user is going to have a name. Let's double check this because it's been a while. It's been a while since I could hold my head up high. Didn't know that your boy could sing, did ya? Because he can't. Okay, name, age, and ID. Let's save them all, right? All right, so we got the name. We're going to set this to string. Sorry about the small font, but there's not much I could do about this one. Age. And this is going to be an int. We could do a... yeah, we could just do an int 16 because the age is going to be a small number. And then an ID, which could also be a... well, this one would actually be an int 32, but we'll do it in 16 because we only have 5 things in there. But do whatever number makes sense. If you're not really sure about these numbers, then gonna have to check out the Swift book because it's kind of part of the basics. All right, so let's see. All right, so what we need to do is, because I don't know what's up with this weird bug. I don't even know if it's a bug, but what you have to do is you have to make sure that you select your entity, which is just another word for your object. We have user object, right? You need to make sure that you set over here in the data model inspector, make sure you set code gen to manual / none. Not sure why it breaks if you don't. Stupid and weird, but yeah. I looked it up one time. There's a reason behind it, but it really didn't. It's not like anybody would really be using the other two use cases that often. So it still is kind of stupid. All right, so what we need to do now, editor, create NSManaged object class. Make sure that your object is, or your project is selected. Make sure that your entity is selected, your object that you want to be saving to core data. And then what you actually have to do is, because it's going to try to put it up here in your project's main directory, you don't want it up there. You want it inside here, or maybe even lower, but you definitely want it to be somewhere in there, or else things just get kind of wonky. Not wonky like it's going to break, just wonky like as in file structure. It's like these two files are up here with the blue one, and it's like, what the hell are you doing, Xcode? Don't even know you like that. All right. So, as you can see, there's not really a whole lot in here. Nothing really. And then you have your objects right here. I'm going to delete this optional string because it's not optional. That's kind of mandatory. And what we're going to do is we're gonna let me think. So we need to go out to the internet. We can do that. We need to be able to pull data down. Well, that's part of the internet. And then we need to convert this data into yeah. Let me think. How did I do this before? There's a way to do it codable, but I don't think I can remember how to do that. Let's see, convenience init, and then we're going to need to init this with data. Yeah, we're going to need to create this with data. And a context. And this manage object context. Damn, the boss just walked in. Need to get some work done. We'll rewatch this later. Have a good one. Later, Thomas. Oh man, I'll hit you up on the email, bro. One question, how much? Yeah, all right, got to that one already. All right, so I think in order to create this, we need data and a context. It's been a while. Remember, it's been a while. So what we want to do is we want to decode. Is that right? I'm sorry, guys. I can't do this as decodable right now. I can't think right now. It's also a lot easier in Realm. Okay, so what we'll do. Geez, I don't even know if I remember how to decode like that. JSON. All right, let's go ahead and try it. Let JSON is equal to what we'll do is we'll throw. Do we want to throw here? I think I'm trying to do a little bit too much. You know what, guys? I can't do the best practices right now, so we're gonna do it dirty. The good thing about dirty is that it's a little bit easier to actually understand what's going on. So what we'll do is we're gonna say persistence is equal to persistence service dot shared. And we're gonna probably, maybe even refactor some of that. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're going to switch on here. Switch on the result. Now remember that the result can have two cases, success and failure. Let data. And we'll just put a break right there so there's no complaining from Xcode. And then case dot failure. And then let error. And then we'll just print the error. Right. All right. So now what we need to do is we need to decode this JSON, or decode this data into JSON. So let JSON is equal to JSON serialization. And then JSON object. And we need to mark this with try. Don't need any special reading options like that. And then we should also be able to cast this. Oh, did I not wrap it in do? Alrighty, I'll wrap it. I'll wrap it up just for you. Print error. There you go. No more complaints. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. All right, so look at, now we got JSON, and remember that our JSON is coming in the form of an array. So what we can do is we can say that it's an array of JSON, like this. It's been so long since I've decoded JSON like this. Oh my God. String any as, and then we'll just guard this as well. Guard else return, right? And just to make sure that we're not missing anything, let's go ahead and print out the JSON, make sure that we got this far. So what we're doing is we're just going up to the internet, we're grabbing some JSON, or we're grabbing data, converting it to JSON, and then marking that JSON as an array of dictionaries. So now we have an array of dictionaries where the dictionary has a string key and it's returning any type. So what we also need to do, and what we can also do, is we can put this on the next line because there's a whole lot of guards that we have to do. What we can also do is we can start unwrapping some of these values. So we can say let name is equal to like JSON, and then oh wait, hold on. Nope, can't do that actually yet. My bad. Hold on. It's JSON array. Let me make sure that I remember that this is an array. So this is a JSON array, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna map all this out. So what we're going to do is we're gonna have let users is equal to JSON array dot map, right? And then we're gonna do something like this. We can get rid of the parentheses like this. And all we really want to do is just get the objects out, really. So when we're looping through this, we're trying to grab JSON. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna say guard let name is equal to, so we're looping through each of them, and they're each an array, and we're gonna say name, and we're gonna cast name as a string, right? Let age equals the current object, and we're gonna say age like that as I think we might be able to cast it as a uint 16. Might be able to do that. Not ager, just age, dude. And then ID is equal to our current object, which is a dictionary, and we're going to pass in ID, and we're going to cast that also as a uint 16. Else return, right? Something like that. So now we're parsing out our stuff. And what we want to do is create a user object. So let user is equal to user. And I believe what we're going to do, and we need to pass in week reference, week self in, and we'll just add a statement that's going to say let strong self is equal to self. Put a comma right there. And then we're going to, I believe we need to create this with a context, and we're going to pass in our strong self dot, our strong self dot persistence dot context, like that. That should work, unless I spelled something wrong. Yeah, right here. Strong self, like that. And then what we need to say is user dot name is equal to name. User dot age is equal to age. And user dot ID is equal to ID. Oh, sorry, not unsigned int, just int. There we go. There we go. And then what we'll do is we'll, let me think. Well, let's first just do this return user. Let me make sure that I'm doing this right. Don't think you can break in here. Flat map. And then, or no, hold on. I think you guys changed it to compact map. Oh boy. Return nil. There we go. All right. And then what we're going to do is we're going to print users. So let's see if this works. I think it might. Looks like it did. Yep, look at that. So now we have core data objects, right? Cool. So what we want to do is we want to save these objects, and then when we save these objects, we want to also, so let's see, when we save them, we also want to return them. Cool. Yeah. So, I mean, it's been a while. I don't think I worked with like a reactive approach on core data yet. I actually don't think I got there before. So what we'll do is, yeah, well, let's go ahead and change this first. UITableView controller. Cell for, or number of cells. Number of rows, return, and we need something up here, var users, which is going to be an empty array of user, and we're going to say users.count, and we're just gonna make this super simple. So cell for row, let cell equals UI table, or is equal to DQ. You know what? We're not even gonna DQ it. UI table view cell. And then cell dot text label, title label, cell dot text label, should be text label. Yeah. Dot text is equal to, and we're going to just say let user equal to users index path dot row, user dot name, and what we can do, this is optional. Fucking flies, man. And we'll say is user dot age years old, cell dot details to manually. Will there be any videos sometime in the future that uses machine learning to manually train AI to scan and detect an object it has never seen before with accuracy? Well, I don't think that you can do that. I'm not sure if you could even do that. I'm not sure if the people that even make AI can even do that. There will be tutorials on core ML in the future when I learn it, but I can't say that it's going to be able to detect something that it's never been trained to detect. Like, what if I showed you... What if I showed you this? Huh? What is this? Detect what this is. Right? You can barely see this, right? But even if you could see it, just looking at it like this, you wouldn't know exactly what it is. So you're telling a machine to be able to detect and learn something, like you're trying to have a machine do what you couldn't do. And that is a very difficult thing to do. So I don't even know if that's possible. All right, so let's go ahead and return cell. Hi, Kyle. It's the first time I caught a live stream on YouTube. Feeling excited. Man, coming in here. I know you've been around, but nice to have you in here. A Wise Fayaz. Man, good to have you in here. We're doing bad practices right now. It's okay. And then we'll say self.users is equal to users. Ooh, that's real bad. How did I get that far without it? We actually didn't need to do this week, but it's okay. Just wanted your thoughts on it. Thanks. Yeah, no problem. It's just like, not sure if that's possible. I mean, it's possible. It's not possible for a normal human being like us, right? You know, I mean, you might be a super genius. I'm not a super genius. I'm smart, but I ain't no super genius. And then we'll just say self dot reload data table view dot reload data. All right, so that should be fine. That should be okay. What we'll do, go over here to main storyboard. We're gonna just turn this into UITableView controller. It's coming from the underworld. It has been resurrected. All right, so then what we need to do is we just change this over to our view controller. Let's go ahead and run this. Let's see what happens. Should work. So this isn't exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Did I not set it? I guess not. This isn't exactly what you're supposed to be doing. This is technically doing what you're asking, but it's not exactly what you want. Let's see, what did I do? Oh, actually, we're doing that on an outside thread, and that is not good. That's right. I forgot about that. Okay, so actually, we have a lot of problems in here. Dispatch q.main.async. All right. Couple things that we're doing in here. All right, so we're getting the data back. Don't know why the subtitle's not showing, but who cares? All right, so and the way that you would do that is that you would save the object, and then you would return those objects. I can't think right now if there's actually like a notification that happens when something gets saved. Which keyboard shortcut did you use to move the reload data inside? That would be Command, Option, and then curly braces or square braces, whatever you want to call it. And then you can move it up and down like that. So Command, Option, and then a curly brace. Command plus opt or plus, yeah, Option plus curly brace. Yeah. All right. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're getting the data. Like, so we're getting the data, and we're actually, well, we're technically not even saving it. What we would actually do is we would say self.persistence.save. And let's go in there and let's make sure that the save is working as we would expect it to. And we'll just say saved successfully. All right, so let's see. Saved successfully. So you see how it's saved successfully? That means that the data has been saved to core data. All right. And how was it that we make it unique? Properties transient. What did that mean? Index in Spotlight, preserve, store, and external. What's going on, Irfan? Let's see. Okay, so what we could do is we could add a completion. No, that wouldn't work. So let's see. Let's see. We have the context and whatever. I'm gonna just call this whatever. Func context updated, right? So we'll call this context updated after after a save successfully. Or no, let me think. What we could do is we can create a completion handler up here. That's not right. How do I want to do this? Okay, the best way would be to actually create a notification. Notification center dot default dot post a notification. And we'll say data updated. So persisted data updated, and then we'll pass in nothing because we just want to do a notification. So we're essentially just notifying when this did save successfully, and then that's when we're actually going to get the data. So we're going to go back over to our view controller, and what we'll do is we'll actually take that out. Let me see. All this is in the view did load. Jesus, Kyle, he's so dirty. I know, huh? Let's see. All right, so let's just at least get this out of the view did load. Jesus. We'll say get data or get users, whatever. Right? All right, so we'll get users, and then what will happen is we're going to be observing. So notification center dot add or dot default dot add observer. It's this one. And then we'll say notification name persisted data updated, and we're going to go back and check that, make sure that it's spelled right. This is going to be on the main thread, and then we're not going to use the notification. All we want to do is we want to fetch our user objects. So first, let's go back over to the persistence service, make sure that we got the same naming convention. I'd make this a whole lot sexier, but this is a live stream. All right. Okay, let me think. We need to fetch the data. So our persistence service needs to fetch the data. Let's go over here. And what we're going to do, create a fetch function. So func fetch, and this will be a generic function where it takes in t, and t is of type ns managed object. And what we're going to do is we're going to pass in type t dot type, I think. And what it's going to return at escaping is going to be an array of t, because it's going to return back all of our stuff. So, and I'll go over this right now if I got it right. I might have gotten it wrong. Actually, we might not need that. Yeah, actually, it's better to leave it right there. It'll make everything cleaner. All right, so what I'm trying to do, I might have got this wrong. Tired. What we're trying to do is we're trying to fetch whatever object we're going to pass in here. We want to make sure that it's an NSManage object, because essentially we need to make sure that it is going to be something that's saved in our core data, right? So we're going to fetch that NSManaged object, and what we're going to do is we're going to pass in the type. So in this case, I'd pass in user.type, and what I'm expecting to get back is an array of users, right? So if we go ahead and take a look at our user core data properties, we have this fetch request. Only problem is that I don't think it's going to be default for all of our classes. So I think I have to, let me think. Public class. Yeah, this is a class. Because essentially what I need to do is make a fetch request. So let request equals ns fetch request, and we're going to pass in the entity name, and that's going to be, I believe, string defining describing, not defining, describing, string defining describing type. I believe that's correct. And this would be a fetch request of t, right? Okay, so we have our fetch request. Now what we need to do is we need to access our context dot fetch with the fetch request and we need to wrap this. So do catch print the error, and then move this up a little bit, and we're just gonna say let objects equals try that, and then what we'll do is we'll say completion objects, right? And then if we get an error, we're just going to do completion like that, right? I think that's right. So what we'll do is we won't be calling our, let's go back over to the view controller. And as you can see, yeah. It's been a while since I wired this together. All right, first let's just try to see if this works, because we should have saved everything already. Persistence dot fetch. We're going to say user dot self, and we're expecting an array of users, and we'll just say self.users is equal to users, and then we'll say self.TableView reload data. All right, so real quick, we're not getting the users yet, right? We're not doing this. So if we pull back anything, it should bring us our users, and they'll probably be out of order if it does work anyways. See? Out of order. That means that it worked. All right, so only problem right now is that we don't have we don't really have something that kind of ties the two together. Hi, this is Sonther from India. What's up? I have doubt on parsing the nested JSON. Can you help me? Okay, yeah. I mean, I have a video dedicated to it, but we can go over it here. That's fine. All right, so let's go back over what's happening. I'm going to assume that you know how to do networking and that you know how to get the data back. I'm going to assume that part. When you get the data back, we're passing a result if it is successful with getting the data back. That's what this is right here. Yes, you can save JSON using whatever you want. You could use user defaults, you could use Realm, you could use SQLite, core data. You could make up your own persistence service. You could save it that way. You can save whatever you want. That's what the course will eventually be on. So let's talk about parsing this JSON real quick. So what we're doing is we have to wrap it in a do block, because JSON decoder and JSON serializer, JSON encoder, they all are throwing, they all have class methods that throw. So this JSON object is a function that takes in some type of data and some type of reading options. We left the reading options blank. And what it's doing is it's going to take that data and it's going to convert it to like normal JSON that the computer can read. And what we're doing is that we're saying, okay, get that data, convert it to JSON, but also what we're going to do is we're going to cast it as an array of dictionaries. So this first square brace is an array, and then this right here, it looks kind of weird right now, but let me show you if I put it on a line break real quick. As you can see, that's not right. How did that happen? Okay, so right here, look at, so this right here on the inside, square braces around string, colon, any, that's a dictionary. And we're just saying that it's an array of those types of dictionaries, or else we're not going to be able to go any further, right? So then what we're going to do is we're going to say we need to create a new array of users because we need to use that. So what we're going to do is, since this is a JSON array, we're going to essentially loop through each of these. That's what a compact map is. So it's looping through. Now we're going to use a guard statement to unwrap everything. So since we're in a closure, right? Since we're in a closure and we're using weak self up here, we need to make sure that we're unwrapping our regular self. So we're going to call it strong self. And then we have name right here. Now the $0 is just saying this current element that we're looping through. So remember that compact map is essentially just a for each loop for the most part. And it's going through each of the objects. So the $0 means this current object. It's just a shorthand of saying, like, if it would actually be the same thing as saying like a JSON object in, and then every time you see $0, you would just replace it with JSON object in. But it's a little bit short. It's a little bit shorter code if you just do $0. So just keep that in mind. All right, so remember that each object that we're looping through, since this is an array of dictionaries, each object is a dictionary. So each one of these $0 is a dictionary, and we can use subscripting on dictionaries to grab specific keys. So, God, this freaking mouse, man. All right. All right. So we can use subscripting to access each of these keys because we know that each dictionary is going to have a string as a key. So we just pass in whatever the value is, right? So when we're trying to decode the word name, and we know that because we actually looked at the JSON before, we just pass in name, and we're going to also cast it as a string, and then we're going to set that to this this constant called name. And then we're going to do the same thing with age and then ID, but we're just casting them to int 16s because core data over here in the persistent JSON, whatever, in the XC data model, you can't actually have just a normal integer. You need to explicitly state what type of integer it is. So we're just going to use it int 16 since we're dealing with small numbers. But we're casting it as int 16 from the JSON. So we're just parsing that stuff out. Now, if any of these fail for whatever reason, like I misspelled something or I'm using the wrong type or anything, we're just simply going to return nil. And since we're using a compact map, that means that you can return nil, because what a map does is it performs some type of logic and then it returns an array of objects, right? Well, compact map gives you the option to essentially do the same exact thing, but if absolute users, see how it's not an optional users, it's not users with a question mark. Compact map gives us the ability to just return nil and exclude anything that didn't work out for us. So that's all that's doing. From there, what we're doing is we're just going to create a user object. And since it's an NS managed object, you have to do it like this. You have to initialize it with a context. And remember that it's a class. So you can set it as let, because it's just you're saying that it's a consistent pointer to this object, and then on that specific object you're setting the properties to all the unwrapped values, and then when you create that object, you're just returning that object, that user. You're returning that user, which means you're essentially saying this user is good to go. We're going to place it into our new array called users. So that's what the mapping is doing. I hope that was helpful. Hey man, any idea who can we detach the events on? How can we detach the events on Firebase? Detach the events? I'm not really sure what you mean by that. If you mean like call it once, there's something called call once. I think it's literally called call once, if you're not trying to continue to listen to events. All right, so what we're going to actually do is create another object, and we're going to call this a store. I want to see if I could data store. All right, and then we'll say class data store. We're going to say NS object, and I think we're going to put this as an NS object because I think it's actually going to be observing, so that's why. Let me think. Yeah, so the data store is going to also be it's also going to be a singleton, so private init, and then static let shared equal to data store. Super.init, like that. And then let's think. It needs to have the persistence service and the networking service. So let persistence equals persistence service dot shared. Let networking equals networking service dot shared. And we got those both. Let's see. And then on here, what we want to do is say func get and this is going to pass in T, which is also of type ns manage. Import core data. Core data ns managed object. Type. And back to Swift. Thank God Flutter was killing me. JK. Yeah. All right, so we want to get this, and then we're gonna actually request this. So request object, and then I'm not gonna do this perfect, but let's think. So what it's going to do is when we request, let's think out loud. Request. So when we do a request, we're going to go out to the internet, get back some data, save the data to core data, return the data from core data. I don't understand why we call super when we call all the functions from parent class. Just write super init. Can you elaborate, Kilo? I don't know. Whenever you're dealing with the NS manage whenever you're dealing with the NS object, you just got to call super init. I can't remember why. I mean, we're overwriting stuff, but I couldn't really tell you. If you didn't do super init, then things would just break. I don't know why you do it only specifically on NS object. Okay, go out to the internet. So that's going to be our networking service. Networking.request. And in this specific instance, what we'll do is, since we don't have a more complex thing, because what you would have to do is you would have to tie specific types of requests. You know what? Let's just do it. I don't care. Whatever. Whatever. What are we gonna request? Data object. I don't know. Data object. Fuck. Just so can't think. Enum data object. case users, and that's actually going to have an endpoint attached to it. You could do something like this. I don't know. Or we could call it endpoint. I don't know. Damn, it's hot. Why is it so hot? It was raining today. Oh, it's cold. Endpoint like that. And we're going to get users in 8, and that's going to be https://kilologo.com/API/users. And this is also going to have response type. How would you represent this? Response type, which is of type NSManage object.type. Core data. Switch self case users return let's see, user lowercase self, like that. Can't remember if this actually works. Let's try it. So then what we can try to do is request endpoint, type endpoint, and we're going to say endpoint dot raw value, and then we're going to have a result, and then we're going to say a switch catch, switch case dot success, let data case dot, oh my god, come on now, failure let error result, like that. And then I think we just put the rest in there. What are you saying? Oh. All right, so let's go ahead and try this out. We should be able to get most of this stuff to just work the same way as before. So we should be able to actually copy this, paste that in there. Let's go ahead and cut it out. And let's paste it in like that. Why do we need strong self? Oh, for down there. Yeah, we don't need that anymore. Don't need that, don't need that. There we go. And oh, we do need that. Okay. I was wrong. Weak self. All right. So now we're going to do the... What are you doing? What is going on? My God. What a night. Oh boy. Jeez. Things are going crazy over here. Okay, so we don't want to do this. Okay, you're being kind of weird right now, dude. All right, so, yeah. What we want to do is we want to get this request, and then we'll get the users. And what we can do is we can save. So we'll say persistence service self. And actually we just need to do a for each. We just need to create users out of each of these. We don't actually need to return anything. So now what we're doing is we're just creating these objects, and then we'll say self.persistence.save. And then so we got some data back. Get some data back, save the data to core data. And then what we'll do is we'll add a completion handler after here. Completion. Escaping. And instead of this, what we could do is we can say completion. Like that. So then this just pretty much tells us that we did successfully finish. And now what we want to do is we want to actually fetch the users directly from the persistence layer. So self.persistence.fetch, and then we're going to pass in the endpoint dot response type. And we'll say objects in, and we'll say completion. Completion. Escaping. T that. And then we just pass in our objects like that. We're gonna pass in E for endpoint, or we'll pass in T, whatever. T for endpoint. T, and then T dot, oh shoot. That's right. This is not good. Yeah, it's gonna return a T. No. No, yeah, it definitely wouldn't. Where endpoint. Huh. That's kind of unfortunate. Kind of run into these weird dead ends whenever you work with generics. Let me think. Don't think there's an easy way to do it. Might be able to do it like this since we're using enum. So then type ns managed object. Can't do this anymore. Var URL path string whoa. Just do what I tell you. Switch self case dot users return this, and we no longer need that. Let's see how badly this breaks now. Endpoint.t. I'm pretty sure init was just the function name, but he was calling super as in the parent class, which has a function called init as well, or otherwise recursion would happen. I'm pretty sure that's the reason why, but correct me if I'm wrong. Lucy, I couldn't say. Too tired. Let me see. Let's see. Type T. Endpoint dot URL path. Let's see. Fetch T dot self. Okay. Looks like it might work. That's crazy. Wow, that was wild. Let's see if we can get rid of all of this. Shouldn't need any of this anymore. Get users, nah, not even. Let store equals store dot shared store dot request endpoint dot users Is this gonna work or not? So confused right now. Users in print users. Let's see what happens. And there might be like 10 of them because now we're going out and doing crazy stuff. Let's see. It could also be a background context. Oh, and it's managed context. That's right. So the problem. Let's see. I'm gonna do a fetch. Let me think. Okay. I'm pretty much brain dead. No more generics. You guys figure it out. We're gonna do it like this. You can keep it simple. Request users. It's gonna call the endpoint, the one that we know. It's gonna return users. This one's gonna be https://kilologo.com/API/users. Right. Get a result back, some type of data. Turn it into user anyway. Missed that. From here, we want to fetch user.self like so. And we should get that data back. So now there should be like 15 of them. We're going to have an error over here in our view controller. Store request users. Like that. I believe that's pretty much it. Completion, users like that. Weak self. Yeah, that should work. All right, let's see if we get like 15 back. We're only okay. Self dot users is equal to users, and then self dot table view dot reload data. There's all kinds of fancy things that you're supposed to be doing right here, but can't really get into it right now. See? So obviously the API is not returning it like this. We're grabbing this from core data. Now, let's go back over what I did here. This is like the basic principle behind it. So, let's go back over here. Where are you? Data store. So essentially what you need to do is you need to have like some type of object that's going to facilitate working with both your persistence layer and your networking layer. because they kind of need to work together in order for this to actually work properly. Because what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to request data somewhere in your app, right? In your view controller. So when you make a request, that request is actually going to be done through the networking service, and that's why your data store needs to have it. So as you can see, we have the networking service in here, right? We have it under networking. Now, when you go out to the internet and you're getting data back, you need to save that raw data, because the philosophy is essentially that your UI never actually touches the data. Like it never touches the internet itself. There's layers in between it, right? So if your UI is up here, or let's say if your UI is down here, right? If your UI is down here, what we're doing is we're putting a networking layer right here, and the internet is up here. So in order to get to the internet, your UI has to call the networking layer right here, and then that's what's going to go up to the internet and get the data. Now, on the way back down, data layer, because it's technically going to the networking layer, and then it's going to the core data layer. But essentially, you're getting the data back. You're going to save it into the core data layer, and then that's when your UI goes up to core data and it grabs core data. So that's what we're doing. So as you can see, we're doing our networking request. We're going up to the internet, right? And we're doing request users. So it's coming from our UI, our view controller, essentially. So our view controller is saying, it just says, get me some users, right? It doesn't care how, just get me the damn users. So our networking layer is going to do that for us. It's going to go up to the internet. It's going to go get that information. When it comes back down successfully, what we're going to do is we're going to parse that data. That's all. When we parse that data, right, since we're creating these user objects with a context, they're automatically, like all the changes to that context are automatically being saved when we go into here into our persistence layer. So we're automatically creating objects in our persistence context, which means that we're writing it there, and then as soon as since we're writing it there and there's changes, when we call persistence.save, any of those changes are going to be saved. So now that data is essentially stuck in our persistence layer. So now what we want to do is we want to fetch that data out of our persistence layer. So we're doing persistence.fetch, and we're grabbing, we're just doing a normal fetch request by passing in it what type we're trying to get. And then we're going to get back some type of objects. In this case, it's going to be user objects, and we're going to send that through to the completion handler. So that's going to be sent through right here, and that's what we're actually seeing in the view controller. So in our view controller, it looks all nice and neat like this, but we're actually using some pretty complex stuff. Now, the part where it starts getting complicated is like you have to make sure that you're deleting stuff and make sure that it's hidden from users and stuff like that. When it gets to deleting, that's when it becomes very complex, because you really have to start working with your database, and your database has to have CRUD functionality, in which case this database does not have CRUD functionality. So we can't really do that, and that's the extent to where I want to go tonight anyway. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You go from your view controller, networking layer, server sends back data down to your networking layer sends it into core data, you then you pull it from core data to get it out. That's what's happening. So that's gonna be it, guys. Yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found it a little bit useful. It's what you guys have been asking for. As you can see, it's not too crazy complicated. I try to make it more complicated than it really is, because there's a better approach to do it. There's a way that I can set it up to where if we do it using protocols, you can literally just swap in and out, like core data, realm, all that other stuff. So the persistence layer doesn't really matter. The networking layer doesn't really matter if you set it up right using protocols, but I'm kind of tired. Can't really think through that complicated process right now. So that's going to be it for today, guys. Thanks for checking out the video. Hope you have a good night, and make sure you keep coding passionately.